All right, what's up, everybody? We're back with another live show. UFC Vegas 79. Rafael Fiziev versus Matrushrish Gamrot. Yo, when I see Rafa, I've been around Rafa many times, and I call him Fiziev. Like I was like, Rafa, Fiziev, is that right? He's just like, yeah. Like he doesn't really care. But then the broadcast says Fiziev or Fiziev.
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 Fiziev. Yeah,
I've heard
Fiziev.
Fiziev a lot.
I guess that's what you're supposed to say, Fiziev. But man, I've been around Rafa. I said Fiziev the whole time. You know what I mean? Like he never corrects me or anything. So I don't know, man. Maybe it's said both ways. I have no idea. But anyways, I feel bad. We're gonna get into all of that. The main event. You don't want that to happen in any fight, but we've been seeing that a lot lately, man. Especially in main events, right? The one that really shines to me is the Tom Aspinall fight, right? That was also a main event, and it kind of like something similar happened in that fight right early in the fight with the leg. But before we get into that and discussing everything that happened over the weekend, make sure you guys go in the descriptions. You see the little ticker at the bottom. Download the AllStar app, completely free. All sports, not just MMA. Not just the UFC. You got all sports on there. You could adjust. You can make your adjustments. What do? You can put it together. Yeah,
Customization.
customization of the app for your needs. These guys were talking about football before we got online, before we started the show, and they're bragging about whatever teams that they love
I'm
and
not bragging
wearing the
about shit.
jerseys. And he ain't, yeah, Sicko's in it. He's in a slump right now with his team. But anyways, yeah. So if you get the app, you could get the NFL, whatever. Have fun with it. Okay, it's down in the descriptions. Download it. Have fun. And also, if you're watching the show, we got the MMA picks, UFC picks. Jace picks got the league going on. Every pay per view, he's doing spaces with what is it with the prizes, right? The best
Yes, sir.
picker, right? So get on it. Get on it now. We'll talk about it a little bit later, but let's get into the main event. We'll start with J Spec first. J Spec, you got Rafael Fiziev and Gamrot coming in. Two completely different types of fighters, stylistically completely different types of fighters, but mixed martial artists, they can do everything well. Just because they're a specialist at one thing doesn't mean that they suck at another. Because if they probably let's say Rafa went into a grappling tournament, he'd probably slice everybody up, right? In the
Yeah.
grappling tournament. Just because he's struggling doesn't mean he can't grapple. But first round, let's talk about J Spec. What did you think of the first round? How did you score the first round? And what did it look like?
Well, it looked good for people who are backing up Mr. Fiziev, Mr. Fiziev, however you want to go with it. Uh, you know, man, it's just so hard to think about this fight without automatically thinking about the conclusion. But in all fairness, just like you said, this is high level stuff. This is top of the food chain, literally top of the world in the weight class, guys competing against each other. And you said it perfectly, man. We're in 2023, dude. There is no one trick donkeys at these rankings, but it's just how you.
Hyon.
I don't know. That's not a donkey. Anyways, so for my sound effects. Anyways. So with that being said, like Fiziev looking good. I was all for it. You see the stats, right? Now it's kind of funny because you look at the stats and it's like, oh, you got a minute and 28 seconds of control time. It That's cool and all, but the reality is, I think this fight is just something we're just gonna have to throw an asterisk on. It is a loss. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a
Should
loss.
it
Like,
be a loss though? Should it be a loss? That's another thing that people are arguing right now. Should it be a
I seen that
TKO
argument, John. I seen that,
win
and
for Gamrot? Tell me what you think.
absolutely not, sir. Because this is the way combat sports has been running the entire time. The injured fighter takes the L. Like, as far back as any sanctioned pro fighting of anything goes back anywhere, that's just the way the cookie crumbles. It sucks. What I'm starting to worry about, maybe not worry, but a little bit worried about, partially concerned, maybe, is where we're going with these athletes. Like, you're talking about the injuries, right? The ligament injuries, the Aspinall, and now Mr. Fiziev and others, many others along the way.
Ortega.
Ortega, and just, I mean, it's endless, really. Our We've seen this in the NFL not that long ago, a few years ago, where like a decade ago where the sports science was catching up with it finally, but so many guys were getting like specific type of injuries just because they're so much faster and they could jump like higher and do all kinds of physical athletic shit that the previous generations couldn't do. Where maybe we're reaching a part in martial arts where like certain techniques and certain whatevers, we're starting to reach the physical limits of what a body can take or perform and do. Like these guys can kick so fast, like so quickly, like maybe there's a limit. And I don't know, maybe we're starting to find it at this point of sports science and understanding. Anyways, my thoughts, the final thoughts on this is, hey, Gamrot, he's one of the guys that we've already talked about being the future of this division, being part of this top 5 for probably a long time. Here we go. Here it is. It's unfortunate this is the way it played out, but it's not really anything different than what we already kind of anticipated long term in the division. So sucks. It just sucks. That's my final sentence. Sucks. All of it sucks.
When you look at the numbers of the first round, right, everything's really, really close. Gamrot decided to stand and test his striking somewhat, right, against Fiziev. And you look at the screen, look at the app right here in front of us on the screen. It tells us the numbers. We can't say too much like about the numbers, you know, you can't dig too much into the numbers because the fight never played out, right? We just saw the injury happen in the second round. But it was close, right? Gamrot was doing well, man. I give credit to Gamrot for sitting there and testing himself with the striking. But Fiziev, I'm just going to call him Fiziev. That's how I like to say it. Fiziev, his defensive wrestling looked phenomenal. Like he was, you know, even though he took him down, he was able to get to the fence, get back up, you know, not letting his back get taken. You know what I mean? Like his wrestling, I feel like, is improving, even though we didn't get to see more of it because of the injury. Sicko, what'd you think of the first round, man?
Yeah, I think I agree with most of everybody in the fact that I had Fiziev winning that first round. I thought he looked great. I mean, the 1-for-6, the takedown defense, like you said, that was huge. He was stopping the takedowns early. And, you know, for one thing, when I look at Gamrot, I don't know if Gamrot's game plan was to stand or testing it out a little bit at all. I think it was the body strikes. I thought Fiziev was very clear on what his game plan was. Attack the body early, let him know, hey, if you shoot these shots here that are hitting you in the body, those shots are going to hit you in the head if you start shooting wildly. And in Gamrot's defense, man, his single leg takedown is so underrated and I think underappreciated. Even though he was 1-for-6, just the way he attacks a single leg is very different than most people in MMA. We see like Aljamain Sterling and all these other guys that come out, they get to a single leg and they get you up against the fence and they're kind of forward pressuring you into the fence and trying to work eventually into like a double leg or chain wrestle from there. Gamrot gets a single leg and pulls and drags you off the fence, goes high, picks up your foot above your head, and he tries to get finishes like that. And I think it's just a little bit unique. You don't really see that from a whole lot of guys. But the fact that Fiziev was able to show balance, strength, his build, just kind of short, stocky, is really hard to take that kind of build down. We've seen it from like Volkanovski as well. That build is just really hard to take down on the floor and especially keep down. And yeah, I thought Fiziev looked great. I thought his game plan was on point. I thought he was on point. He looked fast. He looked like he was seeing everything. And it was setting up to be a great fight. It was setting up to be a 5-round, technical, back and forth, tit for tat, who was going to get the shots in, who was going to have the difference maker of each round. And then we have an unfortunate injury. And yeah, like you said, these injuries continue to play out. I wonder if it's the grappling. I wonder if it's every time we see these happen, it's either like in a grappling exchange or we see it with guys who are about to face a grappler, like guys who are about to fight a wrestler. So we know they've been training wrestling like crazy. Like I'm assuming Fiziev was grappling more than typical for this fight. I'm assuming he was grappling way more in this training camp than he was in the Justin Gaethje training camp. And grappling ruins knees, man. Like everybody know, ask Kamaru Usman what his knees are like. Like we know that that's what really puts strain on tendons. And it could not be, right? This could have just been a situation where like he's just so explosive. He throws that leg kick, just that rotation. Unfortunate injury. Either way, I know the timetable from what I've seen from other guys that I kind of trust isn't great, but I hope he's back sooner than later. And just a tough fight. And for Gamrot, kind of sucks for him too, right? Like you would hope that if he wins this fight to move on and maybe get his opportunity at like a title elimination fight, that it would come off of the performance and not off of an injury, especially coming off of a fight with Jalen Turner, who a lot of people didn't really give him the credit in that fight. Some people thought Turner won that fight. It's like, damn, kind of feel for Gamrot as well. Definitely feel for Fiziev a little bit more. But yeah, just sour taste and the way we were all hoping.
Yeah, it's shitty, man. It had to happen that way. Fiziev, man, he's 30 years old. I believe this is his second knee injury in the last couple of years. I believe he had a knee injury before. I'm not for sure, but I think he did. He did. It's not good to have multiple knee injuries at that age because you are in your prime years. You know, Fiziev, he trains hard. You know what I mean? He's not a small lightweight as well. He's built like a Volkanovski, smaller, stocky. And he works with Volkanovski's wrestling coach as well all the time when he's in Thailand. And he goes over to, you know, of course, Kill Cliff to finish off his camps if he's fighting in the States. Yeah, I don't know what it is. You know what I mean? Maybe it's just, maybe his knee was compromised way before. You know what I mean? Maybe it was because we hear this all the time. Fighters like training and fighting multiple fights with certain injuries, and they just delay the surgery. That could be a case, right? That could be the case for him. Like his knee wasn't great, but he still continued, you know what I mean? Because he's got to fight. He's got to make money, you know what I mean? And it seems like whenever Fiziev fights, he seems like everything's pretty spectacular to where he wins bonuses and, you know, all that stuff. But when you look at him in the grand scheme of things, right, in the lightweight division at the top, he's going to be there for a while. Let's just see what happens with the knee. We don't know exactly what's wrong. We'll find out in the next couple of days. We'll figure out like how long he's going to be away, what type of knee injury it is. Did he injure the same knee, the same injury, same ligament? We don't know, right? We'll find out, but we'll see. Now, when you look at him, you know what I mean? He lost his debut and then he ran, what is it, like 6 fights in a row. Incredible run, right? And then he fought Justin Gaethje. Arguably might have won that fight in some people's eyes, right? It could have changed the trajectory of his whole career if he won that fight because Gaethje went on to fight for the BMF, head kick, knocked out. Now he's in prime position to go fight a McGregor or somebody, right? And Fiziev could have been in that position. You know, Fiziev knows how to play the role as well, right? It's not like he doesn't know how to get on the mic and say some wild shit. But now 2 in a row, right? Look, Justin Gaethje and Gamrot. Those are 2 guys in the top of the division. People that are shitting on Fiziev and saying like, "Oh, it's over for him." Come on, calm down. He's 30 years old. You know what I mean? He's fighting the best in the world. Arguably beat Justin Gaethje, and this one he just got injured, right? It's not like Gamrot injured him. You know what I mean? It's not like Gamrot went for the single leg and like, you know, pulled under him and then pulled out the knee rip. You know what I mean? Like he didn't do that. Okay, so, but let's put him on the shelf because he's going to be on the shelf. Let's talk about Gamrot and what's the future of Gamrot. I think Gamrot should fight. Yeah, I think he should fight Armin, man. Like I don't know if Armin is booked. Seems like he's trying to get booked, or is he booked? Is Armin booked for a fight? I'm not for sure. Did you guys see any announcements about Armin?
I haven't seen anything on Sarukian at all.
Yeah, man. I want to see that fight. I think those are the guys. I thought that should have been the fight anyways.
The rematch?
I thought the rematch. You know what I mean? I thought that should have been fight because, man, the thing about Gamrot, he's talented and everything, but it's not like his fights are like it's high level, right? And you can appreciate it, but it just doesn't draw the attention.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't draw like the attention that Fiziev draws. It doesn't draw the attention like Habib drew. You know what I mean? Like he's a grappler, but he's not out there like doing like what like devastating grapplers do, right? They take you down and smash your face in, right? And choke you out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's not really doing that. And I'm waiting for that Gamrot, that version of Gamrot to come out, right? Because I think it will eventually. Because his gas tank is crazy. His chain wrestling is crazy. His MMA wrestling, like everything's crazy, right? Like it's just the violence factor. He needs to raise that up somehow, right? And he's just getting started too, right? So Gamrot, a lot of time. But what do you guys think? What do you think, Sicko? Who should be next for Gam?
Well, definitely not the person he called out. right? He called out Charles Oliveira. I don't know if he realizes Charles is booked.
Dude,
Maybe,
this like
maybe,
emoji, like what?
maybe you should keep up with what somebody has going on before you call them out. He said he wants to fight Charles. I mean, all right, but that's not going to happen next. So for Gamrot, yeah, Sarukian makes a whole lot of sense if he's not booked. And there's a lot of guys at the top of the division. The problem with Gamrot and some of these other guys is like, all right, maybe Gaethje makes sense, right? Maybe Poirier makes sense. Maybe these guys make sense. But then we've already seen that they're not really willing to fight these guys because for them, it's like, we just fought for a BMF belt, right? We just went viral. We want the big money. Is Gamrot bringing us big money? Can we even headline a Gamrot? Is Gamrot going to headline a pay-per-view? No. So who is he going to fight? It's going to be someone he's going to have to fight on like the headliner of a fight night, or he's going to have to be on, the second fight, third fight in on a pay-per-view. And that is not Poirier or Justin Gaethje. They don't go there, right? They go it's the headliners of pay-per-views. So it's going to be tough for Gamrot on who he gets next. And also, has he done enough? Remember, he had his opportunity, his shot for the title, his big fight that kind of push. Everybody has that. Everybody has that one fight where it's like you get over this one and there's your shot. That's when people really start getting you in line in to be a real contender. And he had that fight against Dariush and it didn't go his way. He lost it. His next two fights after that, Jalen Turner and now Fiziev, a lot of people saying you lost to Jalen Turner. You have a win due to an injury against Fiziev. Like, can we really put stock into you? Can we really think that, hey, you're the guy now? Now is your time. Did these last two fights really put you over the hump? I don't think so. I don't think so. And do we want to see a Dariush rematch? Like, tough spot for him. Again, this is why I said earlier, like, this was almost as bad for him as it is for Fiziev. I know he's celebrating. I know he's happy he got the win. But, like, if you don't do it in a way that people are satisfied with, it's not pushing you forward at all. So he's just kind of stuck.
If anything, I think him celebrating pissed people off. I remember the way people were feeling about it live when we were watching it, my man, and people did not like him celebrating that win at all. So maybe he even went back a couple points on the popularity meter.
Could be.
Yeah, when you're in position like that, and what Sika was saying is like, yeah, your last fight you arguably lost, right? Jalen Turner arguably beat you. In this fight, your opponent got injured. You didn't beat him. He injured himself. It's over. You win. Yeah, it's like you're in that position. Yeah, you gotta know the climate of the division. You don't say Charles Oliveira, the dude is fighting for the title. Like, why would you? And if he loses his wins, like, it doesn't make any sense. If I was him, I would be just looking to extend my win streak, right? Because he's got a win streak, right? Even though it's injury or not, his next fight, I will be calling out somebody that is an advantageous matchup for me, but has a big name in the top 15. It doesn't matter as long as their number next to their name. That's all that matters. Because why? You could go in there, beat that guy, and now you got a 3-fight win streak, 4-fight win streak, whatever it is. I don't know what his win streak is right now. Oh yeah, it's 2-fight win streak right now, right? So you win another one, 3-fight win streak. People forget about those things, right? Like how you earned your win streak.
Yeah.
And then next thing you know, he gets another big fight. He gets another one. So if you look at the like the rankings, I would go down the rankings and I'll call out like RDA if he's still fighting at lightweight. I don't think he is though, right? But I would call out like a Dan Hooker, right? Like I would call out they were matched up before. Like that's what he should be saying. Those types of people, right? Not why, like that, like it doesn't make any sense, right? But maybe someone's in his ear. J-Spec, what makes sense to you?
You guys are nailing it. First off, like Bozo call out, we can all agree that's unanimous across the table. But what is the best thing for me personally? I'd like to throw it out there is what we've been salivating on this whole time. Like, why not let Gamrot and Sarukian? I looked it up. I don't see him tagged with anybody yet. So, like, shit, let's do it. Like, that's the one. I mean, if we're kind of going back to what makes the most sense, who's the best? Like, those are the two young guys. Those are the two dudes that, if these guys beat each other, one of them beats another, you kind of force the veterans on the top of the pile, like Sicko was mentioning. Hey, it's going to be hard to nudge these guys to say, hey, take this fight. But once one of those studs come across as the winner, like one of them is gonna have to take it. It kind of gets to that point. So chance it, right? Chance it. Make sure you're the guy next up. Like make it known. It's not Sarukian. There's nobody else in this new wave. It's me. And that's what I would like to see for him.
All right, let's get to some of these comments. Okay. Anna says he cannot go top 5 if he fight RDA or Dan Hooker. It doesn't matter. Like, he's up there, so he just needs to win. Okay, he just needs to win, and if he's not getting booked, like look at Armin. He fought a guy not even close to the rankings, right? Because he needs to fight, right? And he knows he just needs to extend that win streak. And you take advantageous fucking fights if you can, right? That's what the game is about. And you get paid the same amount. You don't get paid less or more for your opponent. You don't.
It's whatever's in your contract.
Like, exactly, right? And yes, he did already beat Sarukian, but that fight was close as well. That's another thing about Gamrot. Yeah, that's one of the highest level fights you've ever watched, right? Just insane exchanges, right? Especially in the grappling, right? These guys are just so phenomenal. But yeah, it's just me, entertainment factor. That would be fun to watch. But Armin's criticism is same too, right? Like, to me, I think Gamrot is like very similar in like stylistic similar. I know there's differences, and I'm not gonna get into the details, but I'm saying like when you look at it from afar as a fan, they look kind of similar in style. But Armin has had more of those violent finishes, right? You remember when he fought Alvarez and just cut him and just beat, like just slam elbows in his face. That was the type. That's what Gamrot needs to do to the high level dudes. If he does that, they will be pushing him for a title shot because they got highlights, you know what I mean, of him just going crazy. But they don't really. What highlights do you really see of Gamrot?
Sequences, cool graphic sequences. That's basically his highlight reel.
That's what I'm saying. You know what I mean? Yeah. And will he ever have the breakout performance that we expect, or is he just going to win unanimous decisions or split decisions? We got to find out. I still think we need to know, right? But a lot of time.
The way you proposed it to have, follow up, get a streak, and then maybe go back to another headliner, like almost redo this, but not redo this exact fight, just put yourself back in position to be headlining a fight night to kick ass against somebody to be known, because that's what could have happened here.
Just got to remind people how good you are, and sometimes it doesn't matter who the opponent is. We'll see what happens, though. You know what I mean? The lightweight division, we gotta let the rest of the year play out, and then we'll see who's next. Because we still have there's so many contenders, man. And it's funny that they're talking about like Islam going up to welterweight and fighting. Like he's gonna beat Charles Oliveira. Like he beat him already, right?
Yeah. Just overlooking him.
Yeah, with Israel Adesanya.
Yeah,
we just sounds false. He lost to Sean Strickland. No one expected that to happen, and then we just found out today that he got popped for a DUI.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What is it? A couple weeks before the fight, and that is not a good sign, right? Not a very good sign. But maybe it was just a little wine. We don't know the detail. I don't know the details. I just saw the headline of he got.
I mean, it just still makes me feel like before the fight. I mean, obviously we still have this rest of this card to talk about, so I don't want to take away too much. But even before the fight, I remember saying man, the only thing, if you're a Sean Strickland fan, the only thing you can hope for is he's got so much stuff going on right now. He has a lot of stuff to celebrate. He has a lot of things going on. He's got a movie coming out. And then you hear this news and you're like, man, he thought he had this one. He thought he was going to yawn his way to this win.
It just shows you, man, in fighting, you can never overlook anybody, right?
Hell no.
And yeah, maybe he had too much going on. Who knows? We'll find out. Brianna, what's going on? Brianna Frost, go check her out. Appreciate you for the super sticker. If you got any questions.
It's her birthday week. Shout out, happy birthday, Bree.
Happy birthday, Bree. Happy birthday to you. Go check out her Twitter, and it'll link you to her OnlyFans. And go check it out. And she sells what? Soap as well?
Yeah, soaps, lotions, all kinds of cool stuff.
Get some lotion. Brianna got that lotion. She got that game. She's
candles, all kinds of awesome stuff. Yeah, check her out.
Come on. Get on it.
Get on it.
All right, everybody. We're gonna move on to the co-main event. And I never thought Satan would be involved in any but it is involved in this day and age. Satan has come out, and I didn't know he existed, but I guess he does, and he's out there. He's everywhere, and our goal in life is to battle Satan until we win, which will never happen. Anyways, just all jokes aside, Bryce Mitchell returns against Dan Ige. We've kind of seen like the blueprint to beat Dan Ige, and Bryce Mitchell used that blueprint. I don't know, man. Was that fight a good fight? Let's start, Sicko. Was it a good fight to watch?
I mean, I
you
don't
like
want to
the grappling. You like the grappling.
I do. I'm a little bit. I don't think I fit in with the majority of the crowd. Like the majority of the crowd, they get heavy grappling without any ground and pound, without any submission attempts, and they're just like, I hate this. I can kind of stand it a little bit more, so I don't want to take too much away. I'm not going to say this fight was boring. This fight was terrible. Trust me, there were some terrible fights on this card. This one wasn't one of them. But what were we talking about just a couple minutes ago, right? With Gamrot, it's like, how do we want to push you if your game is on the ground and you're kind of in a holding match now, right? You're holding them down. You're not really landing any significant ground and pound. You're just trying to keep position and hold on tight. And it's like, cool, you got the win. But for Bryce Mitchell, my biggest concern for him is, once again, he looked like a one-dimensional fighter in this one. We saw what happened with Ilia Topuria. And I don't want to take too much and say Bryce Mitchell is a complete liar and he probably felt fine and Topuria is just way better than him. For all I know, Bryce Mitchell could have been really ill and probably should have pulled out of that fight. I don't want to just say that, he's lying about that. But we saw what happens when he is unsuccessful on taking a fight to the ground. When that fight's standing, it looks pretty bad for him. And it started looking that way with Ige as well. Ige was winning all of the sequences on the feet were going Dan Ige's way, and then Bryce Mitchell does what he does best, finds a way, is relentless with takedowns. His cardio is definitely elite level. I mean, this guy does not get tired when he's sitting there shooting and shooting and shooting. I mean, 5 of 15, like 15 takedowns. That is, it's impressive to put on that kind of performance for Bryce Mitchell. And yeah, the only unfortunate thing is when you look back at the end of this fight, the most significant thing he did was hold a Bible and yell freedom, and then force Dan Ige to do a prayer with him in the middle of the octagon.
Yeah.
That was the significance of this fight. That was the most memorable,
crazy, right?
Those were the most memorable things Bryce Mitchell did.
Keep testing Hyons, we keep being nice. One of these days we're gonna lose it.
I think Dan Ige, I'm not for sure, but is Dan Ige religious? Maybe he is, and that was something that was just like, maybe he knew, and
yeah, I don't know, man. I think Bryce is. I don't know if this is like. We can definitely tell Bryce Mitchell's a religious guy, but I don't know if this is just I want to lay it on super, super thick because I need people to talk about me a little bit more, or if he's just really like that far into it. But yeah, when that's the most memorable thing about the fight itself, like I don't know if I'm too excited. I don't know if I'm sitting here going, man, I can't wait for his next one. Not like I used to be. If there was a point in time with Bryce Mitchell, I think it was after the Barboza fight, where I was like, oh, man, I'm really excited to see this guy. And he had that performance against Topuria. We know Topuria is phenomenal. There's nothing wrong with losing to Ilia Topuria right now. And then after this performance, I'm like, what are we doing, Bryce? What are we doing here? So, yeah, a good fight for him. He got the win. I picked him to win. I picked him to win by submission. That didn't happen. But I thought he was going to be a lot for Dan Ige to handle, especially on the ground. And he showed that, he continues to do what he does. Like I said, he was born on this flat earth to do two things, and that's tend to a farm and wrestle. And he does those two things pretty well.
Yeah, Bryce, there's a question here, and I'm going to shoot it to J Spec to get his thoughts on it. It is from Hype. What's going on, man? Some people are arguing that the UFC wants Bryce to win. Some saying they don't. What do you think, J Spec? Do you think the UFC wants Bryce Mitchell to win?
I don't know about UFC wants Bryce Mitchell to win. Yes, there's circumstances where obviously you can see that the promotion is behind someone. They're giving them extra shine. They might be giving them favorable matchups. But you think Dan Ige is a favorable matchup? No, dude, that's a hard-ass fight for everybody. So I don't really think that's giving him nothing. That's not the best way for the company to get a specific result for Bryce Mitchell is by giving him someone like Dan Ige. There's 100 other guys that could have picked. Now, I gotta address what Sickle was saying It's real. The thickness of this act, and I'm calling it an act now. Previously, it was cute and funny, like you said. Previous version, Bryce Mitchell, like I'm gonna quote him. Hey, you put me and Floyd Mayweather in a cell, I'm fucking him. And he was talking about his wrestling ability over boxing, right?
Oh my
Like
gosh.
just a nasty
Like
verbiage,
that
but way better than Bible thumping. We can all agree on that. It just makes people uncomfortable. The forced prayer thing at the end. I know Dan was just being respectful, but you like that
So
was
he
just
gave
weird.
5K, right? I think that's what it was. It was for the people
Yeah,
of Hawaii.
yeah. He said he was going to donate 5,000 to Hawaii.
So that
to
was a
help.
good gesture, though. you know what I mean?
That's
It was.
very beautiful. I'm not questioning Bryce Mitchell's human, his humanistic side of him. It's just, man. Anyways, the fight was the fight. We got what we got. We got a grappling specialist who had to dive and commit to one thing to get out of something. It was just like Sicko said. On the other side of it, though, like, Dan, I'm always riding for my Hawaiians, but I got to be honest. There was a couple times where he had stuffed the takedown, but then he didn't fight to like disengage and got tangled up a little too long, and then Bryce prevailed over a sequence of events. Those minor detractions, minor errors could have possibly cost Dan Ige the fight. So by Bryce Mitchell winning this was by a very tiny margin. So if he comes across somebody who doesn't make those small margins, small marginal errors, he might be paying the price. That's all I'm saying.
Dan Ige, man, he was out grappled by the Korean Zombie. Don't you guys remember that?
Yeah.
You think if the Korean Zombie can out grapple Dan Ige, Bryce Mitchell can't?
Of
In a
course.
straight grappling match, I could see Bryce Mitchell taking out the Korean Zombie, taking out Dan Ige, like pure grappling match, right? And that's what happened. Bryce knew what he was doing. Look at his last two matchups that got canceled. Bryce Mitchell, Jonathan Pierce, probably one of the best wrestlers at featherweight, and people are not talking about it because he's been injured. But the dude can wrestle, he could grapple, and he would have probably out grappled Bryce Mitchell. We just don't know, you know what I mean? Because he just hasn't had the opportunity. He was pulled from that fight. And the last fight that he was booked was Movsar Evloev. I think Movsar Evloev runs circles around Bryce Mitchell because his scrambling ability is insane. And then he all of a sudden shows up for Dan Ige.
Yeah.
Favorable matchup? I think so. For him, I thought he was the favorite heading into the fight. And he went in there and got the win. And he needed the win. Because why? He was coming off his first loss in the UFC, right? He needed to get back on that horse. And, with the religious thing, a lot of fighters at the end of fights, they praise God and give love to God and, all that stuff, right? And that's fine. You should have religious freedom, right? You should be able to do that.
Absolutely.
But Bryce Mitchell took it to the next level, right? And is it something that is cringy to some people? To some people, they agree with that. They agree with all the things he's saying, right? And he has an audience, right? So Bryce Mitchell is just feeding his audience, and great gesture for the 5K. And praying for the people in Hawaii, right? Because it's true, right? A lot of people lost a lot,
lost their lives.
You're from Hawaii, so right? Do you have anybody connected to that?
I'm glad to say that my family majority of them does not live on the island of Maui, but an uncle of mine is a sheriff there, so he's dealing with all of it. So
yeah. So whatever, Bryce, we could make fun of it because you're joking around, right? If it was serious, he has the freedom to do that. You're in the US, you're in America, freedom of speech, all that stuff. Freedom of religion, also part of the Constitution, I believe. I think I learned that in school. Maybe, I'm not for sure. We need to check that.
Nailed it.
Someone Google that, right? I'm gonna say,
what's left of it? What's left of it?
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, exactly, right. Like, let's say the UFC saw that and they're like, oh man, that's kind of like, do we want that on there? They have no choice. You know why? Because is the UFC gonna ban religious freedom?
Yeah,
I know.
I mean, the UFC's made it clear, right? The UFC's made it clear, like, they're kind of cool with whatever a fighter is going to say. Like, they're not putting restrictions on anything that you. I mean, how many F-bombs did we get just a couple pay-per-views ago? You know what I mean? I was like, whoa, we are.
That's
What
what
about
I
the
was.
Izzy? What about the Izzy
That's
thing?
what I was saying.
The Izzy
We're letting
thing,
N
like-
bombs fly. We're letting the other variety of F bombs fly, not the
Yeah.
common one or the other one.
And I mean, with
No.
Colby, like the other thing is with Colby Covington, right? Like Colby Covington is going to talk politics every time he's on a mic. You can't say, hey, we're going to allow you to talk politics. And if you're, if you're supporting Donald Trump on air, we're cool. But if you're supporting Jesus, we're not cool. Like, if you're not going to take politics out, you can't take religion out. And it's going to be fair game, man. So these guys are going to be able to show. My only issue is like, if it's authentic. Like, if it's just authentic, then it's authentic. If it's not, if it's like over embellished, that's for me is when it starts getting a little bit cringy. Where I'm like, man, I don't even know if I believe you at this point. Like, you're just
Felt pro wrestling.
It felt really like this is the WWE era of the UFC. Like, this is what we're into. Everyone needs a gimmick. Everyone needs a character.
A prop.
A prop. Like, at what point are we going to get to where you find out like these UFC fighters are working with the professional wrestlers on how to cut promos and going to like acting school and stuff? You know what I mean? Where it's just like, all right, man, cool. If your performance is great enough, I don't care what you're doing. But if your performance is like hanging on, holding on, getting these decision victories in this way. And again, I don't want to take too much away from Bryce Mitchell. I don't like when we may not like somebody, so we take away from what they did, right? For everyone's just like, oh, for the people that don't like Bryce Mitchell and they're like, this is boring, he's terrible, blah, 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 we don't like him. Where it's like, all right, keep that same energy with Erin Blanchfield and how she got her victory. Because everybody loved it and everyone said she's super smart and really high IQ. She was getting beat up on the feet. So she did what she had to do. She held on. She won by control time, and she's high IQ fighter. And this just goes to show that she's young and already matured as a fighter. And then Bryce Mitchell does it, and it's like, he's boring. Don't put him on a pay-per-view. Don't put him on this. It's like, we have to keep it fair, man. Even if you like somebody, you don't dislike somebody else, we got to call a spade sometimes.
Yeah. I'm all about the freedom of saying what you want to say, and it's great that the UFC allows it. If fighters are playing a character and like taking advantage of some kind of segment of society that they feel like is going to support them, I have no problem with that. You know what I mean? Do your thing, and and he's towing the line, right? He's towing the line very well, because we can't really say too much about it, because why? We want freedom of speech, we want freedom of religion, right? But at the same time, we don't want to criticize it too much, right? He's towing the line really well. Bryce, he's cut from a different cloth, man. He just is, and I don't think it's a character. I think he's really like that. I think he's on the farm, in his shed.
Man, nah, John. You're telling me he
like,
really doesn't think gravity is real?
He's got the little wires like tied to the little push pins.
He said gravity isn't
that's
real.
What he's selling. That's what he's selling.
The Earth is flat, John.
Ain't
no way you're telling me he really believes that the Earth is flat and that gravity is not real.
I think he's doing the beautiful mind thing in the barn, like. I think he's doing that.
I think his religious, like, I think he is extremely religious, but I think a lot of it is just embellished. Like, there's no way he fully believes the Earth is flat and that the gravity is not real.
How is the Bryce Mitchell? Yeah, how is the Bryce Mitchell I fell fans for from the tough? That guy and this guy are two different guys. Like, suddenly, just very different guys. I'm not buying this new Bryce Mitchell.
He's always been from Arkansas, man. Like,
I know, but yeah, that's true, but
that's just him. And
I feel like
you don't know what type of people there.
I feel like he's turning it up to a level 10. He was like at a level 2, and now he's like, let's crank. Bro,
yeah,
I was like, dying laughing. I'm not gonna lie.
I got camo shorts. What else can I do? He just wants to push the level. Like,
when he came out to start the fight, when he was getting announced, and he held the Bible above his head and he yells, "Freedom!" I'm like, bro, what are we doing? Power to him though, man. Keep winning, keep doing your thing. Listen, just because I feel like something's cringy does not mean it shouldn't be in the UFC. All right, doesn't mean that I want it off of the screen. They shouldn't allow this. Like, now we're starting to hit Karen territory. Just if it's not for me does not mean anything. Do your thing, go out there, win fights, make your money. Power to you.
I'm for it, even though that's not my thing. That's it.
MMA Jesus, you see Jesus even chiming in. He said, "Jesus don't accept Bryce." You see, so we got Jesus chiming in on it. And it says no. And it says no, he is a real redneck. And it also says diversity is good for MMA. It is good. Diversity is good for MMA. M says just like Strickland, Mitchell is just letting his weird hang out all the way now. Man, yeah, maybe. You know what I mean?
Well, he got a nibble, right? Like Strickland was the same thing. You test the waters, you get the nibble. You know what I mean? You're good to go. Reel it in now, and that's what they're doing. Like Strickland, the same way. Like Strickland's always been a little bit off. And I don't believe Strickland when he talks about he stays awake all night thinking about all the people he should have killed. I don't believe that at all. But people reacted to it. And if people react to it, fuck it. Full send it. Like go all in.
Yeah. And that's what you have to do is like if you're a certain way, you just go fully charged on that, I guess. But yeah. Anyways, Bryce Mitchell, he gets the win. He's back in the win column. Dan Ige, a veteran, tough guy. It just seems like he's plateaued in his career. You know, like he'll beat some of the guys, but certain guys just have stylistically, it's just a bad matchup for him, and he'll lose like this. Dan is tough, man. It's hard to put him away. So the only way to kind of beat him is this way, right? I don't know what you do next with either guy, and I don't really want to talk about it because it was just not really like. Then we didn't really find out too much about Bryce Mitchell in this fight. We just found out that yes, we know that he could grapple. Yeah, we know he could grapple. All right, let's go to a much better fight. I don't even know if it's much better, but it was just a much more violent fight. It was weird. Like we got two ends of the spectrum. Marina Rodriguez, which is better way to say Rodriguez, and Michelle Waterson. Michelle Waterson just took the craziest beatdown of all time. No doubt, she's one of the toughest. Well, you know, she's. It's not the first time we've seen her take a beatdown like this, right? But this one was the worst, I believe.
Yeah.
It was kind of like sad to see that happen to her. You know what I mean? It almost like she realized in the fight, like, holy shit, there's levels, and right now maybe that I'm not at that level anymore, right? Or maybe I never was at that level. Like you could kind of see that happening, right? Like you see like small like movements in their body and their facial expressions, like even like when Tuivasa after the first round against Volkov, did you see him like after first round?
Yeah.
Just like, oh man,
the hell
that
just
was a
hit
rough
me?
one.
Like what?
Yeah,
Like,
that
what
was
did I
a
walk
rough one,
into?
right? Yeah,
It's not going the way I thought it would.
Exactly, right? And Michelle Waterson, kind of the same thing, right? You kind of saw that in her. If she walks away, I wouldn't be mad at it. If she continues to fight, I wouldn't be mad at it. Just let her, you know, if she wants to. But I don't know if she's like should be fighting that caliber of fighter anymore. You know, if she does fight, she should fight another a journeyman or somebody that's coming up. You know what I mean? Like, don't have her fight Marina Rodriguez. Marina Rodriguez, she always does this. She always beats somebody really, you know, like devastatingly, right? Or like clearly, and then she goes to her next fight and doesn't really perform the same way, right? It just happens. It's just like back and forth for her. What do we do with Marina Rodriguez, Sicko?
You just keep her moving, man. Move her on up. There's a plethora of fights for her in that division. That's the great part of it. There's a lot of girls in that division that you can still give her. So for her, we just
keep in mind she's 36.
That's what I'm saying. Like you have to keep pushing her along. You can't give her another fight that doesn't really catapult her forward. Like you got to give her one of these fights. Even jumping the line. Like I know people always, oh, you can't jump the line. You can't jump the line. She just put an absolute like damn near flawless victory on somebody, like almost a fatality on somebody. Push her up, give her a huge challenge, a huge test. And if she passes it, cool. Now's the time because of her age to go ahead and get her in there in a possible like title fight or maybe one or two fights away from it. But you can't just sit back and just allow, you know, her to have 3 fights. You know, let's say she's 3 fights away. It's like, damn. So if she gets all those fights in the next 2 years, she's going to be 38 when we're thinking about giving her a title shot. Like, give her a big test next. See if she can overcome the things that, like you said, John, before. She always has this moment, right? She gets the opportunity. She builds momentum for herself because she has an unbelievable performance. She looks like the most violent woman in the roster. And then she kind of goes out there and craps the bed a little bit when she gets that big opportunity. So give her last big chance. Give her somebody high up the rankings where it's like, hey, if you go out there and put on a performance like that against this girl, whoever this girl is, then we're ready to really, really get behind you and push you for that big title fight. Or she doesn't, and then we know, hey, at 36 years old, it's just not going to be for you.
Yeah, it's a trip, man, with her. She has like wins over Mackenzie Dern
Yeah.
and Yan Xiaonan, which are like top contenders.
She wins. Yeah.
When you look at the rankings, she also, I believe, she lost to Amanda Lemos, and then she lost to Jandaroba, I believe, the last two fights. So she's almost, I think, Carla Esparza is out, I believe, because she is pregnant. Congrats to her. That would have been a good matchup, I think, to put together. Did they fight each other already? I'm not even for sure. Man, it's hard to say because she's fought Amanda Ribas. Oh, Tabitha Ritchie. Let's see her going there against Tabitha Ritchie. That would be an interesting matchup. But it goes against what Sicko is saying about a top contender. Yeah, give her another shot. But I think she's going to end up getting a shot, and then she's going to be fighting Tabitha Ritchie in the next year.
Yeah, and that's perfectly fine. You know what I mean? That's perfectly fine. Shoot, that could happen for sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, even like the Dern, does Dern have a fight booked?
I believe so. No. I think she's just training. I don't think she knows how.
Because that would be a good rematch for Dern. Like after that performance, I can see a situation where Mackenzie Dern's actually kind of wanting that fight. To be like, hey, she just beat the crap out of Waterson. A lot of people are giving her a lot of respect here. I lost to her. I want to get that one back.
Andrade is out there. Andrade.
That was the one I was going to say.
Yeah.
And
that would be the time to strike on Andrade. Keep everyone away. Keep everyone away from Tatiana Suarez right now, dude.
For sure. Now let's move on to the next fight. Brian Battle. My guy Brian Battle, you know what I'm saying? That man's, you know what I'm saying? Like that's his thing. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? That's his thing. Brian Battle, man, he's turning into a phenomenal fighter. He's showing that he's getting better every fight, even dropping down to welterweight and still looking good. I think the weight cut he's dialed it in. He knows what he's doing now. Goes against AJ Fletcher. AJ Fletcher is a nice little prospect. But man, Brian Battle, much better prospect. Goes in there. What did he get? He got the first round, second round submission. Second round submission. J-Spec, talk about him.
What can you say? He's budding, right? He's becoming, like you said, he's starting to fill in the things that come with the Ultimate Fighter, right? Like, let's be honest. Like, even though we don't like it as much, and this and that, and this and that, there's still some expectations that are placed on you when you go through that program, and it's good to see, like you said, him developing and becoming a very good fighter so far at this stage. Obviously, getting matched appropriately. There was a big physical difference in this one, so I would like to see him fight against someone, maybe more his body type next time out. I don't know. He's got lots of challenges. He's still young. I'm just for watching him at any point. But let's be honest. Mr. Fletcher was fighting a big uphill battle. Like height and length was a big problem. But that's a problem that was being emphasized and highlighted by Battle. He didn't do the mistake that a lot of tall fighters do and give up space or fuck up along the way or overextend combinations. You know what I mean? So showing good IQ early on in a hopefully a blossoming career that I know a lot of people, when we watch the fights live, a lot of people are supporting him and a lot of people behind him already at this early stage. So nothing but onwards and upwards, just 2 thumbs up, great performance, and shoot, I hope you're not hurt so we can see you shoot maybe later this year even.
Yeah, Brian Battle, I like the guy, man. He's good energy, and he's Ultimate Fighter champion, man. A lot of people underestimate a lot of these champions, but Brian Battle has a very good record right now in the UFC. I think he's only lost once, maybe, to Renat. And this is mentioned after Renat fight, he cannot be a prospect if he don't improve his. Did you know he took that fight on short notice, like super short notice, and had to have a huge weight cut? And you watch my interview with Brian. He explains like what happened during the weight cut, and like it wasn't a good situation for him to be fighting. You know what I mean? But props to Renat. Renat, we know he's a killer. We know that he can grapple the shit out of people. So We'll see. We'll see. Renat, phenomenal talent, right? If we're gonna rank them, of course, Renat would be much higher. But I see Brian Battle doing his thing, man. Um, moving along, Charles Jourdain, he gets the submission in the first round, which was kind of shocking. I thought he was gonna, do something different in this fight, but that's what fighting's about, man. Taking your opportunities and snatching them up, and that's a huge win. I think Ricardo Ramos is a pretty damn good fighter. Um, what do you do with these guys? These guys are like Charles Jourdain is kind of like middling in the featherweight division, right? So there's a lot of good fights for him because he's an exciting fighter, exciting style. Sicko, what's an exciting fight at featherweight, do you think, for him? Because I don't know if he's like a top 15 fighter.
I mean, he definitely has the chops to be one. At least I think, in my opinion, he definitely should be in the top 15. I think he's good. I think he's a lot more controlled now. Who do we give him? Man, that's a tough one. That's a tough one. But there's a bunch of guys sitting around at featherweight that you can put him in there and he can compete with. I mean, you have Alex Caceres, who's coming off a losses at 14. I mean, maybe that's a potential fight. There's a lot of guys there, but you give him somebody right around that edge. Don't jump him up at all. He's shown before that like he's a little bit slow to get off the blocks, but I thought he had a great performance, man. He was hunting the neck like crazy all fight. I mean, every single takedown attempt, he was just searching for that choke. He knew he was going to get it eventually. Like, I don't know if it was just a game plan. I don't know if coming in, they felt like that was an area that Ramos gives up a lot, that he just kind of leaves his neck exposed. I was kind of surprised in Ramos's inability to defend or his lack of skills. Not to say that he's not skillful, of course, but on the ground, I was like, oh man, there's a lot of opportunities he has here. He's not really taking advantage of. There was a point where he was like inside control and Jourdain was just holding on to the neck still. And I saw him kind of wanting to trying to set up that Von Flute, if that's what we're still calling it, if it hasn't changed its name yet. He was trying to set up that choke, but like not going knee on belly or not doing anything to prevent that bottom leg from coming back and close guard. And he was just making some mistakes. And maybe that's what Jourdain saw. Maybe they saw in the game plan, like, hey, this guy leaves a lot of openings when he's shooting. Let's take advantage of it. And for Charles, yeah, another guy though, right, that we've seen have those big moments where he's looked phenomenal. We start getting ready to push him forward, and then he gets his big shot. Or not his big shot, but he gets a fight where we go, okay, if he could beat this dude, he's ready to go. And he always loses to that dude. So we're probably going to see it again. He's going to get somebody right at the edge of the top 15. Let's see if now is the time, if this is actually his perfect timing for him and he can get past one of those dudes at the end of that ranking.
For sure. All right. I'm going to have to cut the show a little short today. So we'll go into like what stood out, from the rest of the card. I know there were some issues in one of the fights. J-Spec, what do you think?
The issues. Which fight was it? I'm blanking. Which fight had issues? Oh, all I know is that people were kind of upset with the Michelle Watterson fight with not being called off. She ate some punches, a whole bunch of them. Let's be honest, that she didn't really need to. She wasn't competitive for a good while there.
No, I'm talking about this fight.
Which fight? Sorry,
I'll put it on screen. There we go.
Oh, good old disqualification. Yeah. So I don't really fucking know what's the problem with people here. Like, it's a foul, dude. It's a clear foul, and it's over with. A guy took a dub. Like, it's his right. He got fouled.
He took a dub?
No, he got fouled. Like, he took a dub.
Okay.
Took a win. You gotta take it for what it is. That's why there's rules. We play sports for rules. Like, if you had any other sport and there was a foul, you just go with it. That's just what it is. So why would you say, hey, why didn't he keep fighting? We actually had someone come into space and like question like why he's an MMA fighter. Like, why couldn't he just take that? And the answer is we shouldn't have to. Once again, this is a sport. This is not just Walmart parking lot fights. And last but not least, like, Malkoun just nailed him. Like, bro, that's you. I don't even know how to explain this articulately because it was just stupid. You have a pro fighter fouling a guy got hurt. He took the foul, and that's the end of the contest. So be it. Like, I don't understand the drama. All the shame goes to Malkoon. Sure, people want to go, oh, the odds, oh, could have been rigged. I don't know about any of that shit. I don't really care. Brundage, oh, he was on a losing streak. He needed this. Okay, cool. But once again, you're not the person in there getting fouled. Should you be forced to continue your job or continue your performance when something major fucked up happens to you? And the answer is no, right? So the right thing happened. It was stupid, and get over it. That's my message.
Yeah, I mean, it was stupid. I mean, it's a stupid thing to do, and this is, to Rob's point, like, this was my issue with how we view MMA in general. Like, I get it, right? We were talking about this in the spaces, Rob. It was built off of no rules. It's the closest thing to a street fight you could possibly get, but it's not that anymore. It's a sport. It's a legit sport now. It's not anything goes. Yeah, exactly. You have a dangerous shot. Like, you can't just think about how bad it is for the UFC if everybody's exact response is he should have continued. He should have continued. Well, then what the hell is the purpose of not throwing those shots? Everybody should throw elbows to the back of the head if that's the case. Everybody should do what Petr Yan did to Aljamain Sterling and throw an illegal knee. Why not? Because you're going to be praised for it, and the other guy is going to get hatred. I never understood the Aljamain Sterling hatred for that one. Oh, he was putting on an act. He was overreacting to it. Cool. That's the whole problem with how we're even viewing it from a ref's decision or from the doctor itself. You should never even be put in that situation. Aljo shouldn't have had to lay there and roll around the floor while people are looking at him, praying, saying, please get up, please get up, please get up and continue. That shouldn't have to take precedence. As soon as he gets that illegal shot, that's it, man. That changes the entire course of the fight. Whether it was Aljo, whether it was Brundage, those type of illegal shots, if you continue from them, it is so damaging. Like, if that's not a damaging shot, I don't know what is. A knee to a grounded opponent is a damaging shot. An elbow to back head like that, a shot to the back head like that is a damaging shot to continue to fight like that. It's just not on them. And this weird notion that, like, it's their fault for not continuing. And now Brundage is going to get hate. Guarantee you, Brundage is going to get hate for it the same way Aljo did. And it's like, so then why do we stop people from getting fouled then? What's the point of it? Then just get rid of all these rules and go back to a blood sport where it's like, fuck it, we're just out here to see anything goes, no holds barred. If that's what we're going to do. If we want this to be a sport, we have to understand that when you cheat, you get disqualified. That's how it works in every sport, man.
Yeah, for sure, man. You got to follow the rules. And Cody, man, he needed the win. You know what I mean? You got to get the wins because that's half your check. Half your check. Draws are half your check is gone.
Yep.
DQs, half your check is gone. You know what I mean? You win. Win is a win. It's like Gamrot. If they would have DQ'd or they would have made it a no contest, you think Gamrot would have got his win bonus? Probably not. Mm-mm. Right? So in that aspect, we shouldn't be talking about it in that way, though, to be honest with you. It should be like they should be getting paid and it should be enough. And it'd be like, all right, that's it. Should be like this result, they didn't get paid. Right? That's how
technicalities.
That's how like behind other sports we are. Right? Yeah. That's how far behind other sports we are.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because of this. Like other sports, you don't really talk about that. Like if what's his name? Who's the main guy on the 49ers? Bosa?
He's a defensive player. But
all right. Well, who's the main
Brock
guy?
Purdy is the quarterback.
Yeah. Who?
Brock Purdy. Yeah, exactly.
Who that is?
Yeah, well, he came out of nowhere.
Christian McCaffrey is
more
popular.
All right, so let's say Christian McCaffrey, right?
Yeah. He's more popular.
You know, let's say he gets injured, right?
Mm-hmm.
In the first game of the season, he's going to get paid for the whole season. He could be gone for the whole season. He's gone. He's paid, right? Fighting is not that way, right? And that's how far behind we are. Anyways, and I know fighting is different, but anyways, I got to get out of here. I got to go do some things. You know what I mean? Sorry about that, but anyways, make sure you guys go in the descriptions, download the AllStar app, and make your picks. Join JSpec's League, and pick against us. You know what I mean? We're making picks every week. Join the spaces on Twitter with JSpec and Sicko, both running the ship over there, and have fun. You know what I mean? Join the community. Next week we won't have a show because next week there's no
fights.
UFC show, and all the people that are talking about Bellator, this show is about UFC. It says in the title, UFC Vegas 79 recap show. So we're not really talking about too much about other promotions. Maybe in the future we will, but right now we only talk about this. We only have time for this.
Shout out Johnny Eblen, world champion. Woo!
Yeah.
14-0,
Well, of
middleweight
course,
world
shout out to Johnny Eblen. Well deserving. Great performance by him.
I only know one championship. I'm sorry.
Yes, and one championship. I cover one championship as my other gig, but I'm not going to talk about it here, right? Anyways, because we're talking about UFC. Download the app. We'll be back in 2 weeks, same time, 8 p.m. Eastern. And yeah, see you guys. Thank you guys always for coming on live and commenting if you're double chakras, double shock.
I don't know what this show turned into now.
Yeah.